Happy Friday, SMITE fans. Gore is back and Dolson is here. You are watching Day 1 of Week 11 of Season 7 of the SPL. And Gore, all these matchups this weekend, we voted as casters, I think, kind of with one another, maybe one outlier here or there. But look at this slate that we've got here. And obviously, the PK matchups have been postponed, so one on Saturday, one on Sunday. No gimmies anymore, I don't think, here in this league with the way these teams have been playing.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the biggest question, like we were talking about it on Waiting Room, I want to see what eUnited look like in this next set because I think that's big. I want to see Renegades and Obey and who wins that because that can be indicative of things. But realistically, I want to know what Knights we're getting after the games when they have to either A, be made up or when they come back in. Because Radiance, they come back from their games being postponed and they get a 6-set loss streak. If you get the same from the Knights, that knocks them straight out of the top 4. So even though that's not necessarily maybe a this week conversation, that is something to kind of keep in mind, knowing that we only have those postponed games, I guess, going on, or not going on tomorrow and Sunday.
PK, we're on an absolute tear. Obviously, all of our wording surrounding those postponements on @SmitePro on Twitter. So if you have any questions around that, make sure to make your way over there. Gore, though, to start off this weekend in the SPL, not only do you got a great doggo on screen, but we've got a great matchup to start things off. eUnited up against Ghost. And eUnited, remember, despite losing in their last matchup, this is a team that, since adding Baskin, went on a little bit of a win streak of their own.
Yeah, it was something that was, I think, comes with a grain of salt, right? They start winning, but you have to look at who they were winning against. I still think it was impressive for them at the very beginning. Unfortunately, it all kind of culminated last week when you got, a 2-0 against them by SSG. I still think this team has a lot, and honestly, asking them to take on a team that has now only lost to 2 other teams in the league, but at the time that they started playing had only lost to 1 team throughout all of Phase 2, you kind of expected it to go in favor of Space Station. It was just a question of whether or not we could see them push it the distance, how much they could put up against them, and I still think they put up a pretty decent fight against Space Station. Now it's going to be taking these, the small moments of gold from that and turning it into a longer set against a team like Ghost. Not easily done and not something that we found a lot of teams capable of. I think Ghost 3 losses throughout Phase 2, and all of them to separate teams at that. And sometimes it's really weird, right? Sometimes you end up with Ghost getting 2-0'd by Renegades, and sometimes you watch them absolutely decimate their opponents in 2 20-minute games, right? So you have to wonder which eUnited we're getting and how well they're going to be able to handle it. But I think there is that grain of salt that is which Ghost gaming we get.
Just to make sure I kind of tie this up with a bow, I say since adding Baskin for eUnited, Gino has been playing out of his mind, I think, as well, despite a couple of losses now in a row for eUnited. I think the changes they made have all kind of hit the mark, I think, that they were going for. So I absolutely had to put that out there as a little bit of a PSA. Gore, though, final thoughts maybe on eUnited there?
I just wanted to say on that note, I love Snoopy, but having, I think, someone who has been practicing support and in support for a long time in that role, I think has helped them out. Snoopy's been a carry through and through, and he's definitely stepped back into that role really well.
Well, their opponents today, Gore and Ghost, and we've talked about them a little bit as well. You don't quite know what team you're going to be getting, but this is a team. Remember, we talked to Mike, I don't know, what did it, maybe a month, 2 months ago at this point, and he kind of said, all right, I need to reinvest myself in this. Not that, he had slacked off or anything necessarily, but the team had kind of slowed down, I think, on some of their efforts. But since then, I think we've started to see a Ghost that's returned to form. And a lot of it, I like that we're starting off here with Fine OK because you look at the gods that he plays, and standard by a lot of metrics, but he'll throw the King Arthurs out there. Apparently now set is something you got to be worried about, so I love Fine OK in the solo lane. It's going to be a fun one to watch him against Baskin.
Yeah, I just got to mention him a little bit earlier while we were doing the SOC cast because Wolves decided to bring Tsukuyomi over into the solo lane, and it's something that Fine OK has showcased that you're able to do is take an assassin over there if you want to. Solo or Troll has done it. We've seen it a few times in Phase 2, but I think going back to the conversation you kind of started with where, it started out maybe a little slower, got a little slow there in the middle for Ghost Gaming, and that's part of what this phase has been, right? It's a long phase. We're still going. We're in Week 11, and there's still 3 weeks after this to get us to 14, plus there was that bye week in the middle. So technically a 15-week long phase with very little breaks and downtimes for these guys. So there is that conversation that is then to be had for the players. I mean, you're in and out of SMITE constantly in these last 4 months, and you're going to still be going for another month. It's easy, I think, to get diluted a little bit in the middle, so it is interesting to see them maybe have that little bit of a slop come through, end up losing, I think, that set against Renegades that was highlighted earlier with one of the longer games in Phase 2, 61 minutes, but now they've kind of not even reinvented themselves. They just re-locked down. They were like, wait a minute, we can win this. Like, we know we're a great team. We know we can definitely make it into the top 2, maybe even number 1 now. So let's just keep on making this run. I think Ghost Gaming have reaffirmed themselves in their mind.
Yeah, they're fighting to keep pace at the top of the standings there. Gore, it's still wild to me that there's, counting this weekend, only 4 weeks left in the regular season here in SPL Season 7. Lots of exciting stuff coming down the pipeline, including picks and bans for game number 1. I am curious, and it's always something I think we have to look at, is where priority around Hurrywind goes for both teams. I mean, this guy in the mid lane, I think, draws so much attention, not only because of some of the unconventional picks he's willing to play, but you wonder if maybe some of that trickles over towards Ghost, and you have to take something off the board you might not otherwise want to. You look at Dardes for SSG, a lot of similar kind of vibes coming from him. So I think I'm interested in watching how these two teams not only play around the mid lane, but some of those other comfort picks here in this matchup.
So this is coming at you live because I didn't even think to prep this kind of thing, but it's actually
that's where we live.
I was going to talk about, right?
On point, right?
You want to roll back to last week, and right now I'm just looking at the SSG set, but eUnited have Yanis banned against them both times, right? Showcasing once again that you have this presence as Hurrywind that's someone who needs to be banned. Bastet banned against them both times, once again showing that Scream has something that you need to be worried about. You go over to the Radiance, guess what? You've got Bastet, you've got Yanis. Like, they figured out what it is that is easy to lock for them, and that's just last week. I'm not even going to try to go and find the last few weeks, because it honestly is always going to be the same. You'll see Bastet banned, you'll see this Yanis banned, only because eUnited are so good with him. Granted, it was always Yanis in the top 3, I guess, of the opposing team, and then Bastet in the bottom 2, but either way, it was always to try and control that mid lane, and it led to them playing a lot of interesting picks, but none of them maybe getting to shine as brightly as you've gotten to see Hurrywind on some of these others. I mean, they played 4 games last week and lost all of them. They got, what is this, a Nuwa in 1 game, didn't really do too much. They got a Morrigan in 1 game, was able to accomplish a little bit, but didn't look as great as we are typically used to. A Hebo, as well as, where is it, a Ra that comes through, right? All of these, a very wide variety of mid lane picks, but none of them that really stood out and screamed, yes, this is deserving of a ban. And so it makes it pretty easy, again, as maybe, I don't even want to use the term one-trick pony, but as someone who has showcased this god that literally no one else is playing, or let's say these gods now, that literally no one else is playing, you're the only team that deserves to have them banned against you. That's great, but at the same time, you have to have that level of a performance on, let's say, 2 other gods here to really solidify yourselves as a team.
Gore, sometimes, we set the stage and the teams just hit on it perfectly, and I love that here from Ghost. Not only the Honest taken away, but the Bastet as well, taking that away from Scream, very important. A Wheelix banned out, Sanford Soccer drawing a couple bans over there on the eUnited side of things. Persephone's still available. She tends to be that first god reached for here, so we're going to get a look at Hurrywind on Persephone, and no doubt in my mind that it'll look strong.
Now look, this is where I love my stat sheet. They've gotten to play Persephone 6 times this phase. They've won 2 of those games, right?
Oh,
it is a great pick, I think, to have, and for anybody. And honestly, because you had to look at it this way, who do you want to have it? Do you want your team and Hurrywind to play it, even though you've got losing numbers? Or do you want Ghost Gaming to give it to Twig? Even though we've seen some hot and cold plays from Persephone on Twig, or Twig, I guess, on Persephone, just reverse that one. It's not something you really want to give over to Ghost. You can never give them top picks. Even here, I think Cupid Cerberus, that's a dangerous trade to be made. That is a scary duo lane for Ghost Gaming.
Love it. I love the pair there, Cupid and Cerberus. Plenty of lockdown, plenty of setup, not only in lane, but in later game team fights. So Ghost Gaming, eUnited, I think both have started off with something they'll be happy with. Kuzumbo as well, Gore. We started to see a rise in play out of him. Rom as well falls into that category. This is kind of what we're starting to see, though, and have been seeing. Maybe not even starting. We're at the point where we've seen it now for a little while, where locking in your hunter and your support is where a lot of these teams end up going with their first 2 if it's not a Persephone or one of those other perma bans left open.
So this is where things are getting, I think, really shaky, right? eUnited, I really love this draft. Persephone, Kuzenbo, Rom, I think is a very solid 3 that come through. A really good, solid fighter in the mid lane that does great team fight and good damage. Kuzenbo, who's going to give a lot of early pressure to someone who already has a lot of early pressure in Rom, a lot of good boxing ability there as well. But Twig, when he plays Hebo, he wins 80% of the time, and at least for PBM, because this is almost always a support pick, and by almost always, I mean at least so far in Phase 2, it has always been support, and not solo for them. It's a 100% win rate for PBM on this Cerberus, dude. That is scary to go up against, knowing that this is a guy that you have to ban Hercules against. This is a guy you have to make sure he doesn't get Kuzenbo sometimes. You can't let him have anything that's comfortable. And I think that was part of a discussion in one of the Twitter videos, one of the things we've put out in the last little bit, where there's a discussion about jungle diff, but I think when you look at Ghost, there's a little bit like, you maybe sprinkle some jungle diff, but also a little bit of support diff into the equation when it comes through. That I think you're going to get to see a lot of that. Maybe the showcase of it in this game here from Ghost.
Gore, now a Fenrir and Ratatoskr banned away, so Scream obviously still needing a pick, drawing maybe a little bit of presence there. Admittedly, I'm raising my eyebrows a little bit at the Fenrir being taken away. Is there something going on here that I might not be privy to, or maybe just a ban that he's strong enough, maybe just take it off the table?
I will say, so the Fenrir kind of catches me off guard. I don't see him. There's no names for him. I see him once winning there on Renegades, and I can't see his pick. So I think they picked him once, won with him
that
once.
That was
right?
SOT, I think, won in the solo lane.
Oh yeah, right. So it's not even Lasbra. I don't even know why I'd be worried about it. Maybe it's something that's been going on potentially in scripts. And I'm looking at Renegades, not eUnited. I don't know why I'm looking at the other person. I'm wrong team all around. Hasn't been picked by eUnited, so that makes it even more curious.
Right.
And the Ratatoskr is what got me onto Renegades instead of eUnited, is because I was like, oh, those are Lasbra brands. That's what you're doing to control Renegades here. So it's a little interesting to have that shift up and going here against Scream. But alongside the Bastet, I do feel like that kind of fits his style. Maybe it's just something that they've been practicing out on. I still think something that could bring a lot of impact and control for it. Against that Tsukiyomi, I'm just excited to see what Scream can do, because it feels like the jungler here for eUnited is really the one that things kind of pivot on as to whether or not he can bring out the performance.
All right, Baskin needed his solo lane pick as well, so maybe there's a world where Fenrir could be a solo lane takeaway. Remember, Baskin loves Cerberus over in that solo lane. That's been a big eUnited pick here as of late. Gore, both teams have locked in all 5. What do you think this eUnited composition is looking to do?
Man, it has a lot of disruption. It has a lot of damage, too. It is not a bad lineup at all. I think eUnited are going to look good here. But there is a question. I think I asked it last week. I'm going to ask it again here, which is to say, much on the conversation you just said, Baskin played a lot of Cerberus in those first 3 sets. When he wasn't on Cerberus, things started to fall apart. He's not on Cerberus. Will things fall apart over there in the solo lane? Is Scream going to be able to make up for it on the Tsukiyomi? There's a lot of damage, a lot of good team fight potential as well. When they get to late game, I'm scared of eUnited, but I think Ghost is maybe going to be able to pick them apart before then, so they have to withstand the onslaught in the first few minutes.
Oh, eUnited continue their test against the top 4 in the league. Game number 1 starting now.
eUnited came into league dominating Dolson, but can they do it up against the best? Well, with Twig on Habwa, it does not seem likely. What do you think in chat, though? Make sure you're voting in the poll. Let us know what you think, and we'll discuss it a bit later. Myth, where do you land on this one? I do tend to think that when Twig has Hebo, that when Mike's on something like this Cerberus, that I'm voting for them.
Look, if we're talking raw value of each individual draft, I think eUnited largely came out ahead here. I think Sun Wukong's the best solo laner in the game. Scream on Tsukiyomi is going to work out. Look, I'm going to exist. Sun Wukong's better. We'll evaluate that if we ever get to that matchup. But I think Hurry wins on Persephone. Like, that's the best mage. Permaban. Gino's on one of his signature picks inside of Kuzenbo. And then Snoopy has, essentially, for my money, the best hunter in the league. I mean, Panda Cat gets Cupid, so it's not too far down over there for Ghost. But eUnited may have won the draft, but I think that Ghost won their own individual separate from the meta draft. Ghost is playing gods that they're incredibly good at. They're also Ghost gaming. I'm with you, man. I think the red team's going to win here.
Yeah, Ghost with 4 blinks to start the game, by the way. Only Panda Cat electing for the safety relic in the Purification Beads, and everyone else is trying to hit the gas pedal. And what a great god to hit the gas pedal on in this Pele for Sam for Sakura. I talked a lot about how well Cubo Fred's been playing so far in PK's hot streak, and even still, every stat I looked at, he's second to Sam for Sakura. This dude is the beast of the SPL right now. This is who you have to beat if you want to be considered the best, as far as I am concerned. And I think it's difficult on a god like this that gives him the ability to be active right from minute 1. How often do we see Lasbro lock in this god and succeed in those early duo lane level ganks? Sam has that access to that same aggression.
Look, I don't know why you were hesitant to say cringe gank, because that's what it is. Your jungler showing up at level 3 when duo lane's level 2. There's nothing cringier in my book. But Pele is certainly a god that can work out on. And I think that Sam's recently been leaning his playstyle this way. We've seen him on the eUnited, we've seen him on this Pele. It's this early game pressure that Sam for Soccer has really been trying to facilitate for his team. And he looks incredibly good on it. Now, on Pele, he's going to scale much better into the late game than he would have had he decided to go towards that eUnited. He's also got some very good counter matchups. Panda Cat, in particular, is going to have a very hard time escaping if Sam for Soccer uses his ultimate properly. Fields of Love will never, ever stop the aggression of Pele. So I think you're right to keep your eyes on Sam in this game.
Yeah, it'll be a great enabling factor there for him as he chooses to move further in. I wonder, though, about how are Snoopy and Scream supposed to thrive in a game where, 20 minutes in, FineOK's Nike is running at them, right? The ability to block these autos with that second ability, the slows that she puts down, and how does Tsukiyomi get away from that? Sans his ultimate, right? It feels like the kind of world where even with all this great engage potential from eUnited, that they might not be able to get past these matchups and the instant delete potential from Twig, and the fact that Pele will be able to burst someone down quickly before Tsukiyomi sometimes slow damage, like what his ultimate can never have a chance to get off, right? I mean, I think that Ghost, as you kind of covered earlier, even with some less valuable picks meta-wise, may have found some picks that fit their style and have a decent matchup just into eUnited in terms of how they want to play.
But I don't want to pretend that FineOK rotating out is going to be the be-all, end-all as he gets aggressed on here by Scream.
Yeah, but there's some backup. Sam's still nearby, and Scream almost had the damage, huh? What was that about my Tsukiyomi Nike matchup? Well, at level 4, it seems to favor Scream, huh? As he put the damage onto Fine. And now Panda Cat in the 2v1 still has the dash, so he's okay.
It should be alright here. Gino couldn't quite look for a little bit more aggression. But I think if eUnited decide to pick up a Sunder and just deal with FineOK in the backline, they should be able to shut him down as Sam continually getting aggressive. He loves this early game pressure. Not quite able to find Hurry Win there, but he is able to strip away those beads.
Yeah, 2 level 4 ganks from these junglers without the ultimates in both, netting them nothing in terms of actually finding any kills. Well, Hurwin used the bead, so pretty effective there from Sam. When he has his ultimate up next, Hurwin, even with that Grasp of Death ultimate, should be a relatively easy target for him, especially if he has some backup. So Ghost have been the more aggressive team so far. We saw them looking for the red, even though we did see Scream rotate over and put damage into FineOK. It kind of feels as though, as Ghost often do, they're going to be looking to bully this early game.
They are, but it's been a slower pace for Ghost. 4 minutes in, no kills. That is slow for them, but Panda Cat now getting aggressive. Snoopy doesn't have his ultimate available, and here comes Sam.
Yeah, Snoopy was locked down. Now Volcanic Lightning is hitting, even with Gino here to help. Can't body block that. Snoopy, I believe, had beads for it. We couldn't see it. His relic situation during the fight as Gino barely lives, but if he did have them, he didn't use them.
Man, Gino plays it right. He tries to stand between Sam for Soccer and his carry, and it just doesn't work out. Yeah, you got AoE auto attacks the size of a literal continent able to come through there for Sam for Soccer. And he's been putting aggression all over the map. He's ganking out the solo lane. He goes into mid, strips away beads under the tier 2 tower at the 3-minute mark from Hurrywin, and then immediately goes back to base, rotates into duo, and picks up first blood for his team. That's why we say this guy's the best in the league. You literally cannot ignore him. He's always going to have, or we are always going to have his names in our mouth because he won't let us shut up about it.
FineOK is displacing Baskin. Good slow lands from Scream, and Elite gets FineOK out of there. He looks worse for wear after all that poke from the Order side team. And now they're stepping in to see if they can defend the blue buff. I believe claimed by eUnited. The big Stygian Torment from Mike ends up controlling no one, and FineOK, Sentinel Azus gets him out, but Mike, stuck in the grasp of death, will be the victim. He falls first, and the blue buff successfully invaded. And now Scream blinking in, looking for Sam, who does have the knockup, but there's too much backup. Tiger stun catches him out, but somehow Sam, still alive, gets the backup from Twig and Fine, and they turned it into a 2-for-1.
Man, Twig comes in a big way there to make sure his jungler makes it out of that situation alive. Ultimate's traded out inside the duo lane. Panda Cat for Snoopy. Nothing really going to come of that. An early lead for Ghost in the duo lane as well. If Twig doesn't find that knockup exactly when he does, Sam for Soccer's life is forfeit. He rotates in, his blink was down, he didn't quite have the ultimate available either, so Twig plays that incredibly well, just on the fringe of that entire team fight, waiting for the correct opportunity, and he optimizes on it incredibly well.
And you'll hear this Ghost team say it every time we ask them. They think Twig is their most valuable member as Gino lands a push, but Mike evades it. And that's because Twig is always doing stuff like that for this team. I think he doesn't quite get that credit even from us sometimes, because, you know, really it's Sam. We got the top-down view. We know it. We know who's running it. But I think that they're right, man. Twig is tremendously impactful for this squad as well. And he's showing it there. Sam certainly should have been dead. No beads, went with the blink, but instead narrowly escapes, turns that fight into a favorable one for Ghost. And now things are starting to get even tougher for United. Once again, the early game pressure from Ghost seems oppressive.
But that was a fight that eUnited chose themselves. They went to Ghost's blue camp, they found a nice engage, Hurrywin gets the Grasp of Death on the 2, and it just wasn't enough. The follow-up damage wasn't there. Tsukiyomi ultimate, the majority of it was used on FinoK, who just uses his to immune out all of that damage and survive the situation. It just seems like it was misplaced aggression from eUnited, and it's not often that Ghosts are forced to play that reactionary role, but clearly they're capable of it. They turn a bad fight into a great one.
Baskin looking for another blue buff invade, doesn't get there in time. And you have to consider, as Twig makes his way into the fight, that eUnited did out-rotate Ghost to that fight, right? They had the numbers advantage first, and Twig had to rotate into it a little bit late. So eUnited, I think, it made sense they started that fight. As Mike jumps in, can't get anything there from Gino.
Nice stun.
It just, as you said, didn't work out for them, right? That's how good eUnited, or how good Ghost are, that they bought enough time initially to get Twig in there.
Now Snoopy in a little bit of trouble in the long lane, but he forced to use
that
the
time.
beads this time. Yeah, the stun made it so he couldn't use his ultimate, so he had to do that if he wants to survive, which is incredibly well played. Panda Cat uses the heart bomb on a minion to get the instant stun, forcing out the beads instead of the ult. Now Snoopy is going to be a lot less survivable if anyone wants to rotate over, and I think we know it's going to be Sam for Soccer. It's going to be much harder for him to escape out of that situation.
Yeah, if you hit a minion with the heart bomb, and the heart bomb initial damage is enough to kill, then the second damage comes out right away, and used there effectively by Panda Cat to set up Snoopy and force out those relics. And then see if they can put him in another situation where Fields of Love into anything at all from Sam is just a kill for them in that duo lane. They've started off on a great foot, but still not that far ahead in gold. A red buff invade will help, as Mike is the only one safe enough to be able to pick it up. Scream and Gino can't do enough to contest. But look at these charts, Smith. Despite the 3-1 start and seemingly like Ghost has all the pressure, this one's still very close as Gino stuck between two. Dash gets him out of there, and Ghost won't force the issue.
And I think he also stole away that Alpha Harpy for himself. Good on Gino. It's an early lead for Scream in the jungle, about a level and a half in his favor. He's been spending a lot more time farming, whereas Sam for Soccer has been looking for aggression on the map, which makes sense to me. This Tsukiyomi is going to be a late-game hand cannon with a shrapnel in his veins, just one-shotting whoever he can get distance on for Kusari Gamma, whereas Sam for Soccer is this more early-game slated jungler. He wants to find that pressure to facilitate his team. He doesn't have to be that late-game hyper-carry, because Twig is playing the god of the Yellow River, the god of 3 ultimates, the god of heavenly agilities inside my kit for my entire team, and it makes me slow immune. Yeah, I mean, Hebo is so absolutely strong that it allows Sam for Soccer to just kind of take this more fast-paced route that is sacrificing a little bit of farm.
Agreed, man. I think that's why this Hobwa pick has become more valuable, as Baskin could be in danger of being forced to use the ultimate, and there it is. Trades it for FinoK's ultimate, and it feels a lot better. Twig considering a rotation over, and then maybe even trying to come underneath Baskin here at this point, as Baskin does stock for the totem. Meanwhile, Sam stuck at a 2v1 as well, but his not going very well for him at all. Gino gets that kill, so now they need this one against Baskin. Crushing Wave sets up for FinoK to get the trade 1-for-1, but Panda Cat has to leave too. Scream and Gino rotating in. Ultimate from Snoopy helping out, and Panda Cat in trouble. Lands the heart bomb though. Might even get the return kill onto Gino. He does, but the stun from Scream too good. And that means that eUnited come out with the 2-for-2.
2-for-2 trade, but losing your ADC in exchange for a support's gotta feel good for the boys on eUnited. And now that gold lead that was barely there has been cut even further, not even 1,000 gold separating these two teams. eUnited might even have a little bit of a slight XP lead in the more impactful roles in the early game. Again, jungle pulling a little bit further ahead as Hurrywin gets a little bit of pressure put on inside mid. neither team should be feeling confident going in towards that gold tree. It's usually around that 11 to 12 minute mark that we see the first fight erupt around there. But with the margin so slight, with the lead so small for either squad, I don't think we're going to see either one of them move in until another pick happens. Likely around that mid, Captain Twig doesn't have beads just yet. His ultimate's going to be down for a little bit. If eUnited's looking to get aggressive, it should be there.
Look at these builds, though, from eUnited. I mean, the Brawler's a Divine Ruin. That's one thing. You see those items picked up all the time. But a Contagion really is the first item from Geno. I think shows how much pressure they're feeling from all this sustain within the kits of Ghost Gaming. They want to deal with the lifesteal that likely Hop Wah will end up building, and Pele's ability to heal, and Mike's and Panda Cat's. I mean, is it to the point where you think they need to build all three of these this early, or maybe is it a bit of overkill?
This early on, anti-heal, especially anti-heal against the type of healing that Ghost Gaming has, is going to be a little bit less effective. Maybe they're worried about an early game fight around that gold tree. Maybe they considered that Ghost was going to be looking for this aggression constantly. It's going to help out with the survivability of Geno, no doubt about it. It's going to be much faster start than a Thebes would have been. But as far as the passive goes, I think it's going to be a couple minutes, maybe 6-7 minutes before we see it really get too much value. You're not really getting it on that Cupid. It's not really going to stop the sustain coming through Cerberus. I think it might have been a bit of a misstep. Maybe a Sovereignty or a Heart Ward would have been better suited there.
Aggro loves to say, though, if you're waiting until you need anti-heal to buy it, that is too late. So it all online here for eUnited, right from the get-go, to limit what Ghost Gaming can do in that category. And we have seen a bit more of these, I don't want to say the word selfish, but these builds that come online right away for these supports. They still might go into the Thebes in that third slot item. We'll see if Geno elects to, but they've been going with items that give them the ability to fight right away. Has been the trend here lately with how important your support being active from the get-go of the map has been. But these two teams slowing it down. Maybe not going to be that much action. Scream confirms the Oracles, and Ghost stay on their side of the map. Looks like these two teams, despite all the early action, are content to go about their farming.
You know, Scream just now ticking over to level 12. He should be able to back to base and get that second relic online. But just watching him kill those oracles, I learned something. Kusari Gamma is swinging for about 800 right now. This Tsukuyomi is a menace on the map. Twig has gone back to base, and instead of electing to pick up the beads, instead he picks up the Aegis, likely because he's worried about the ultimate interaction coming through from the Tsukuyomi. If you're able to Aegis the initial beams of light from Tsukuyomi's ultimate, he's not going to be able to travel to you at all. It's the damage that triggers the secondary part of that ability. So it's a smart pickup from Twig, but now the CC that comes through, if Baskin makes his way into the back line or Geno finds a blink push, Twig is going to have no way to get out of that situation. He's likely going to be forced into using the ultimate to reposition. So he's got to play very safe in these fights. He's got to play very far back to avoid the backline dive of eUnited.
It's absolutely wild, isn't it? I mean, Hop Wah players are already walking a tightrope, it feels like, in terms of safety, and because they like to get blink right away and those sorts of things. But now, not even getting the beads later on, as if to say, fine, either I'm killing you or it ain't happening. And that's the line that we're walking in these team fights, right? I love it. As it looks like a big grouping up from Ghost on this left side of the map. They do recognize Scream is here. Not much to do there, and Captain Twig heading back to mid. So looks like they might be done with whatever this grouping was meant to achieve. They make sure the Alpha goes down. Panda Cat considering starting gold, but I don't think that that's all that serious, and they head right back over to the left.
Yeah, just charging up the passive a little bit, making sure that next Heart Bomb finds a stun. I don't think we're going to see too much aggression around this gold tree, especially considering they know, Ghost that is, that the entirety of eUnited is around that side of the map. Final Cake, trying to aggress it onto Baskin there as he invades those back camps. I'm expecting eUnited now to try and make a play. So far, Captain Twig has been allowed to free farm, but he doesn't have beads, man. You got to get back there. You got to force that Aegis at least, force that ultimate. And the second Twig's ultimate is down, the team fight potential of Ghost Gaming is going to go way down with it. eUnited, on the other hand, have fantastic tools to engage from a range. They can force out this ultimate with just about anything. If Hurrywin wants to shoot his ult at a wall near Twig, the only way Twig walks out of it is if he uses Crushing Wave. I think that this Aegis pickup, although smart into Tsukuyomi, might be costly considering there's a Persephone on the enemy team, there's a Sun Wukong. Twig's going to be definitely struggling around these team fights.
He has decided, that he is contributing damage, and if he has to die, he has to die, but he's putting that damage out as Geno takes quite a bit of that exact damage from Twig on the back of a stun from Mike. One other thing to note is that this Ichvile third item has become more popular. I thought we were just seeing it with Zap's build on the Heimdalls, but we're seeing it now for Panda Cat as well on this Cupid. Another one of those gods who's a bit more reliant on the power with the ability-based nature of his kit. Now perhaps that's why we're seeing this come out.
And it also helps out with just trading inside lane. It's a much faster power spike than the traditional kin size in that slot. And with the Rom Cupid matchup, it's very often going to be not coming down to ultimates. Cupid uses his, forces Roms, and now you're just sitting in lane with your standard abilities. So it's going to help out a lot when you can land 2 auto attacks like that and take away over half of Snoopy's health.
Now, once you get that passive stacked up on Ichvile, it is giving you a ton of additional power. And Panda Cat going to want to be putting that to work here. And once again showing us the ability to get that guaranteed insta-stun off the wave by hitting someone you know is going to fall from it. But it's been a while since we had our last bit of a skirmish. We've been in 8 kills here for a minute. And Ghost has grouped up near this Gold Fury several times. They're grouping up here towards it one more time, and I think this one might be for real. They're starting to pull it. Snoopy nearby with the ultimate, always a chance to steal. And Herwin's disruption from the ult is great, but Ghost, just take it. Mike does such a great job of keeping eUnited out. Now he's in trouble. Slow stacking up, and in comes Gino to push him back. The snipes land, and Herwind gets the kill, but Fields of Love lands as well. Ghost needs to make it out with as many lives as possible, but Sam wants to claim some of his own. Goes in for an ult but falls. Baskin kills Captain Twig, and a 3-for-1 for Gold Fury. Doesn't feel very worth it to me, Myth.
It doesn't. Now Panda Cat in a little bit of trouble fighting Baskin, but maybe trouble is the wrong word. It gets the better end of this engagement. Walk out, Baskin. It's not safe.
That's your god, Baskin, walking at Panda Cat getting shut down. You gotta be kidding me. Unacceptable as Panda Cat does eventually end up falling for it later on. But what was my man doing? He wasn't winning that trade, was he? Not from what I could see. And now, fine, okay, putting all this damage into Gino, who also had to stick around to make sure they got the return kill onto Panda Cat, will eventually end up falling here. No way that he lives.
All right, maybe a little bit more worth as the fight went on. Baskin stepping a little bit too far into the enemy jungle, baits his team forward, and Ghost pick up 4 kills total inside of that engagement. Clean play from everyone, but exactly what we saw there from Twig is nothing. He got hit by the Grasp of Death, forced to use the Crushing Wave to escape, has to use his Aegis to make sure that Tsukiyomi's ultimate doesn't finish him off, and Scream, maybe a little bit greedy, tries to pick up the blue buff. That's huge! Ghosts have a huge opportunity now. 50 seconds while Scream is dead, and 3 already grouped around the Fire Giant. They can go for the Pyro, but they might even look for the Big.
I mean, this adds more value onto that last fight, doesn't it? Now instead of a 3-for-1 in favor of eUnited, nearly everyone has ended up falling. It ends up just being in favor of Ghost at the end of all that, and they even get the Pyromancer as well. And you're right to highlight that they didn't get value out of Twig. Their team fight still relies on all this big burst damage, right? Getting taken out right away by the damage from Cupid or from Pele or from Habois. And when one of those pieces falls out, that gives room for this eUnited comp to thrive. That's what we saw, at least for a little while, until they kind of slowly ended up all getting picked off.
But it seems like Twig is already trying to address the fault in his build, the lack of CC immunity. He's going immediately to the Magi's Blessing after the Soul Gem, and it should help out a lot. Hurrywin is immediately able to force the Crushing Wave through Grasping Death, wasn't even really aiming at Twig, but now he can just walk out of that situation if he's able to avoid CC beforehand in the fight, or even try and look to get aggressive on the tail end and then use the Aegis to get himself out of these sticky situations after he uses Crushing Wave. I think this Magi's pickup is incredibly smart.
Yeah, in a world where he doesn't have the beat, he will certainly need this one, huh? Further delays the pen in this build, though, which worries me a bit. I mean, do more lifesteal boots into the Soul Gem and now the Magi's, as you mentioned. So I assume things like the Soul Reaver Ob Shard, something like that, will be coming up a little bit later on. But it'll be a while before that damage is there. But his damage onto Scream, Herwin, and Snoopy doesn't care so much about whether or not the pen is there. That's all gonna hurt the same.
Yeah, and he's just Hebo, so, you know, he's got that passive Hebo buff, and it's not a real passive, chat, don't make fun of me. It's just that Hebo does a ton of damage, so he's not going to worry about it at all. Already chunking Gino.
Yeah, they're really committing here, aren't they? They've already used the Fields of Love. Grasp of Death comes out, and the Magi's Cloak proc gets some value, doesn't it? Snoopy, or rather Twig, gets to just walk right on out of there, though that is down for another minute. And Ghost have decided to just group up. Look where Fine is, rotating on the back of the fight, blinking in and dropping the Sentinel of Zeus onto 2. That forces everyone out. Twig now blinking in, and Sam goes in right away with his ultimate. That's the end for Herwind. But can they get the return damage? The snipes are good, and Sam is low, and Herwind can chase in this Ghost form. Blinks right into Baskin. I suppose now the GOAT can show us what he can do, but no, Gino strips it away with an AA Kappa, and instead of helping Scream, who ends up falling, trust Basket to clean him up at 1 HP, maybe.
Yeah, Baskin had that kill 100%. Gino likely wouldn't be able to participate in that team fight on the tail end as Ghost. Get a little bit lazy with their backs. A couple of them getting stopped out here by eUnited, but there's not much that Gino's going to be able to do on his own, or even with the help of Baskin. They're going to need more damage output. And sure, Baskin gets to flex the King muscles for a second, but it wasn't up against Panda Cat. I like to see that matchup ran back.
Yeah, that one I'd be a bit more worried about him in, as FineOK gets aggressive looking for Snoopy, who still has the beads if they come up, had to use Shell a bit earlier, has the upgraded, as does Heroin. They both have foregone picking up the Aegis Relic at this point in the build. So we got to see a little bit of what Ghosts are capable of with all that burst, but they didn't end up getting a Tier 1 tower. It was a 2-for-1 in kills, but they lost their own mid-Tier 1 tower. So eUnited are absolutely hanging with the best we have here in the league up until this point. Very impressive for them.
Yeah, best we have in the league. You're talking about like as a group, right? Like the couple of teams at the top, because SSG is the best in the league right now, or maybe Obey. I haven't really decided quite yet.
How many times
but
did SSG beat Ghost? It's 0, right? Like it is 0.
But who else has beaten SSG? Look, they're not even in this game right now. All right, let's not slander the boys on SSG. Let's focus on what's happening in front of us. 11-8 is a slash line, about 1,000 gold separating these two teams as they group up around this gold fury. All ultimates available, but take a peek at the relic. Sanford Soccer doesn't have beads, he doesn't have blink. Captain Twig is going to be largely left exposed as well. I think Ghost's going to play very smart around this engagement, which is why United are aggressing.
Yeah, this is a great call from them to try and fight Ghost where the relics aren't there, and Sam being patient with his time as well, as Gino takes a lot of damage early. Fields of Love to try and deny the aggression from Baskin, who responds with ultimate of his own. FineOK drops his ult in the back onto Gino, but Scream has had free reign to get to Twig. Finishes that kill off with the help from the snipes. Heroin low, he escapes. Snoopy all alone up near the top of the fight. That's where he ulted from, and when he dropped, Sam was there to punish. Now Gino in some trouble as well. The heart bomb on him, and Panda Cat confirms the kill. So it's 2-for-1. Duo lane traded for mid.
Yeah, 2-for-1 in favor of Ghost Gaming as Scream looks to be trying to split push the map here. Baskin, the only one around to look for the defense, but FineOK playing goalie is going to be able to keep him out of that situation. Not much that eUnited was able to do there. Snoopy gets caught out completely alone, gets the 1v1 up against Sanford Soccer. Rom with no ultimate is not beating a Pele at this point in the game, not quite yet. And it seems like from there, Ghost Gaming had complete control of the team fight and the map in turn as well. Scream trying his best to just split up, put some pressure on the waves, and make sure that Ghost isn't able to take down any towers. And it should result in just that. The spawns are about 3 seconds away. Good damage control from the jungler from United.
Very impressive what Scream was able to do to help back out, but this is all Ghost right now, isn't it? I mean, that fight started up by eUnited, and they do another good job of punishing Twig. Twig has struggled in these last few team fights, hasn't he, to really get his value off, kind of in the exact area you were worried in terms of how he responds to all this CC. But eUnited can't do much on the back of it. Twig is at least making sure that they have to commit enough to where Ghost can use that time to get enough kills in the return to make it worth it for him. United will now be starting up the Pyromancer. FineOK is on his way to contest, but a lot of members of eUnited here. He steps in. eUnited confirmed the objective as expected, though FineOK made it close.
Yeah, I can't believe United allowed FineOK, and that's what happened there. They allowed him to walk directly to the objective and turn it into an essentially a coin toss situation, as Baskin now getting dove has the ultimate, the Somersault Cloud, so he should be able to get out of this situation relatively easily, but not before losing his tower, not before taking a good bit of poke.
Yeah, certainly no kill potential there for them, or at least very low. More about the tower, and they do grab it. The mid-tier 1 for eUnited on its last legs as well, so Ghost can claim that whenever they'd like. And right now, the tier 1 tower situation favoring eUnited, but only by a hair, as Ghost still have the tier 1 over in right. So we're now, what, 24, almost 25 minutes into this one, and that mid-tier 1 will go down. Scream not getting there in time. And only about 2,000 or so gold favoring Ghost, and now eUnited's very good draft should get to stretch its legs a bit, I'm thinking here. No.
It should. This Persephone is going to be an absolute menace. Twig struggling to find value in this Hebo is only getting worse as the game goes on. As they start up the Fire Giant, Panda Cat decides to reset here.
Too.
Yeah, Twig has to play back. I like where Twig's standing right now. Notice how he's about 300 miles away from the nearest enemy. That's where he needs to be, because the only way he finds value right now without the CC immunity from beads is waiting for the fight to engage and then going for a blink multi-man ultimate and dumping as much damage as humanly possible before he inevitably falls.
Yeah, Captain Twig has not decided to live through these engagements. He just wants to do enough damage to where it doesn't matter if he lives or not. Ghost, the team, though, getting aggressive, starting to move into the jungle of the United. They're not even going to take a big fight around the objective. They're going to keep threatening their structures, keep forcing them into bad fights. And Twig is showing that he's got the poke, as in comes Gino looking for the dash, cannot find it. And so a lot of return damage comes his way. Even the stun lands, and that means Mike can grab him. Panda puts in the last bit of damage, and Gino ends up falling. Ghosts know how to stretch the map, don't they?
They really do. You think they're going for fire? No, we're actually taking your tier 1. No, we're actually finding a pick in mid. Ghost always keeping their opposition on their toes, and now they can use the sustain from Cupid to continue this push. Tier 2 tower falling down for free here. No grasp of death from Hurrywin means that really eUnited don't want to fight anytime soon. So Ghost is going to go ahead and strip the jungle and then maybe back up towards the fire or engage in mid.
Yeah, finalization jumps into a bunch of them, drops the Sentinel Zeus, and forces Snoopy up into the ultimate right away. So then Sam uses his ultimate onto Hurwin in the back, and Hurwin's done. Panda Cat gets rid of Scream. finalization puts the last bit of damage into Snoopy, and just like that, Ghost win a team fight handily. Fire Giant is for suckers. We're going to the mid and killing everybody.
Honestly, with as healthy as Ghost Gaming are, and only 2 members alive right now, it's Baskin and not Gino, the tanks in the squad. Ghost Gaming can go for the ends.
You're exactly right. They're gonna at least try it. Stygian Torment comes out. That does control 1, and they end up getting the kill in the Baskin relatively quickly. Gino continuing to play Disruptor, but now he has been stunned, knocked up, and the damage is there. It's a deicide with 25 more seconds, Myth. You're right. This game is over. Ghost Gaming just decide they're ready to win.
Yeah. 27 minutes rolled around. Ghost Gaming notoriously get tired around the 24-minute mark, which is why they usually end the games there. 27 minutes, they're a little bit tuckered out. May as well put the final nail in the coffin. But that wasn't nearly as convincing as the standings may have led us to believe. Ghost Gaming, I expected them to win a lot earlier on. I thought they would be a lot more dominant in the early game, but eUnited was scrapping with them every single step of the way. One misplay in the late game is enough to lose, especially against a team like Ghost Gaming. But eUnited showed me perfectly well that they're capable of competing here.
They are. They looked good, but this makes me want to describe Ghost now, Myth, as opportunistic. This team isn't necessarily galaxy braining everyone and saying this is how all the dots are going to connect. I think that they're moving constantly aware of what opportunities the other team is giving them and always being willing to take them at any given moment.
Yeah, it's a more fluid playstyle from Ghost. It's not that age-old ARAM, just WQ, run it down, we're going to out-mechanic everybody. Now it's almost like the evolved state of that Renegade's playstyle that we saw last week where they were trying to play that counterpunch. Ghost Gaming's doing it, but after they land the punch and daze you, they're going to hit you with a flurry of blows right afterward. These guys are nuts.
Yeah, absolutely impressive what this team has been able to do here, right? And it's still looking to me like, I don't know how anyone stopped them, though eUnited played them close for 24 minutes. We'll go ahead and get it over to the desk, though. They're going to break down what we just saw in that last game.
That's right, Finch and Myth, and what we saw in the last game is a lot of good from Ghost Gaming. eUnited hang in there, but right there towards the end, and I think exactly right by Finch. Sometimes Ghosts just need that one fight win to really bowl the enemy team over, and that's exactly what happens here. Goremizer with me to break down game number 1. Gore, I think a lot to look at here for Ghost Gaming. I think finalization kind of bullied Baskin in lane. I think Sam had a fantastic game out of the jungle as well. The Cupid scaled somewhat well. What'd you see here if you're analyzing how Ghost got the win?
I mean, honestly, it feels weird because there's a lot going right for eUnited in significant portions of this game, and then a lot that almost immediately then went wrong for eUnited right afterward. I think a good example, very early in the game, they have that gank over there, try to steal blue buff. They come over, they get a kill. Awesome, we take down PBM, and then they lose 2 members, I believe, in that trade. It was a 2-for-1. And I think the other bigger example is when they get 4 members. They kill everyone except for finalization in a fight. And then Scream gets a little greedy, goes from buff to buff, is trying to farm up in the jungle. Gino was just low and kind of left behind, and ultimately they're able to then pick up those kills. And even more so, it ends up staggering out Scream at the very end of it all. and really opening up the door, I think, for the entire team to just come in and control the map. I think even afterward, Mifflin starts calling for a Fire Giant. He starts calling maybe potentially, at least for Pyromancer, right, where it's just like, I mean, you just did so much, you don't have to worry about their jungler. And that's really where the control, I think, started to come from that moment, and never felt like we got to see the true control shift back over in favor of eUnited. I think this is actually the turning point. It was this kill that then turned into a kill over there on Scream. You can kind of see him way in the distance. He had no health, and that's where I think they really started to pick things up.
And, you know, I think Sam absolutely continuing his tear through the rest of the league up to this point. And, you know, in the pick and ban phase, we talked a good bit about the viability of a lot of gods in a lot of different roles. We had a good talk about Hurrywind, finok, we mentioned as well. Sam continues, I think, Gore, to be one of the most flexible junglers in this league. Just too difficult to lock down in picks and bans.
I think that's something that, I mean, it comes through. We were talking about Loki on Waiting Room, and that was like one of the things that we decided to bring up, where I was just like, I could see finok playing it, and I could see him winning with it, just because it feels like he'll play anything. Wheelish, he was one of the first ones to bring it out. Thanatos, one of the first ones to bring it out. He likes playing any assassin he can get his hands on. I think if you could convince him that any of them were good in the jungle, he'd still pick them up and be more than willing to and happy to play them. And I think that's where it comes through for Ghost Gaming, is he's just so flexible. Everybody on this squad is just so flexible. You give them something, they're still going to play well with it. It's just a matter of whether or not you're going to get a 10-0 performance or a 3-0 performance, right? I mean, here, you even get finok on something that we don't get to see him on often, the Nike, and he still goes 6-0, so you're fine with it.
Agreed. I'm taking that every day of the week. So that's a fantastic start to this set if you're Ghost. A bit of a worrying trend, though, for eUnited. Now you've dropped your 5th straight game in a row, back-to-back 2-0 losses in their last 2 sets, now 1-0 down to Ghost Gaming. A team, though, in Ghost, I'm not going to say they troll or anything like that, slip up every once in a while in their Game 2s and then decimate the enemy team in Game 3, so maybe clean a bit of that up. And you're looking at a 2-0 here for Ghost Gaming. Picks and bans, though, will let us know where our confidence should lie for either of these teams. And now we're at a point where we've talked about Hurrywind and the impact he brings. I think kind of across the board, this is maybe one of the more difficult strategies to bring in this matchup specifically, especially now that finok has shown us that whether it's the Amaterasu, the Arthur, the set, he played Cthulhu recently, I believe, as well. I mean, the guy's died like 11 times in the last 7 games. It's practically nothing, so I think that's got to be a headache for pick-ban strategy as well.
Yeah, it's got to be irritating. And yeah, it is kind of what you had said, though, where we're approaching that territory of, well, is it going to be the standard Ghost Gaming, hey, trolled in Game 2, we got pushed to a Game 3 for no reason? Or are they going to be able to seal the deal? I don't anticipate them changing a lot of the bans. I mean, you look at it, this is the same setup. The only difference I can see between this screen and the last one is Bellini's getting a lot of attention back there, right? And so you keep everything going, right? Keep the bans going. Keep the picks going the exact same way. If you're Ghost, you're happy with it.
Ghost Gaming have gone to 3 games in 4 out of their last 4 sets, and the previous sets before that, they had only gone to 3 games twice. They've won all of their last 4 sets, though, so something I think important to look at there as well. They tend to win, at least in their last 4, if they're going on to Game 3. Picks and bans, or bans rather, largely unchanged. I think still got to take that Hercules away from Mike. And I love that Thor specifically for Sam is a ban here for eUnited, where in the rest of the league, it's kind of one of those picks where maybe not an insta-ban all the time, but obviously showing that Sam can carry a little extra weight with that global pressure.
Yeah, I think that's something you always have to be worried about with Sam. Again, we were just talking about how flexible he is, the fact that you have to be worried about the Thor. Not only do you have to be worried about the Thor, but honestly, finok can pick up the Thor as well. I think it's scary on multiple fronts, and that's another good reason to ban it away. All of those bans feel like they can hit at least 2 people. Hercules really is just PBM, and I'll be honest about that one up front. But the other 2 are flexible enough that you can really argue that it hits 2 members of Ghost. The problem is, and I wouldn't mind seeing this at, I was going to say Bastet again. It seems like they're more than willing to deal with that. Hera coming through. Like, again, it feels like if you can control Hurrywind and you can control Scream, you don't have as much to worry about on eUnited in the early game.
Persephone's still let through. Hurrywind, all things considered, had, a decent at least slash line in game number 1. eUnited in it right until they weren't at the end there. So they're going to forego the Persephone here for game 2. Wonder if Ghost maybe answer back with a Persephone pick of their own. But the Sobek, Gore, how about that priority here for eUnited? Is the Sobek locked in over the likes of Persephone, who's still around?
I like Sobek. I think he fits in really well. I think he's very aggressive. Ideally, you can pair him with someone like Cupid or Rom, I think, who's still available at this point. So either of the two kind of big hunters right now, you're still going to look incredibly solid if you're able to lock them in. Cerberus being able to get locked in alongside it, though, I mean, for Ghost Gaming, the only thing you've changed is the Hera, right? Nothing else. The pick's still the same. Everything else lining up. I feel like if you're eUnited, you really hope for some of that aggression to come through in the duo lane. You still have a lot of flexibility, but I'll admit, Sobek, as aggressive and nice as he can be, he only can do so much on his own, and even paired with the Rom, they can only do so much on their own. Maybe they're a little safer, maybe there's better peel, so no early Pele ganks to find a kill over there. But it's not, I think, solving where the issues are, which I think right now are kind of over there in solo, but really the jungle mid combo that just hasn't quite been hitting these last few games.
Well, the continued trend, Gore, is still the support and hunter locked in with the first two picks. Both teams continuing to follow that methodology. There's going to have to be something different for Ghost. The Hebo banned out, so wouldn't still be there for Twig in game number 2, even if he wanted it, which I'm sure he did. King Arthur, though, left open. Gore, that's one of the picks we've talked about FineOK on, and he looks good on it. Talk about driving pressure in these team fights. Ghost have to be happy, I think, with the first 3 that they've locked in.
Yeah, and this King Arthur's been very kind to them as well. It's one of the picks that I think FineOK more than anybody has been able to make look good consistently, and that's one of the biggest things. Again, 6 out of 8 games, right? If he's got a 75% win rate for you, you're not going to shy away from him, especially in a matchup against Wukong. He had a lot of good control last time around, and I think there is a lot of merits. Wukong has been top picked. I mean, think about it. We didn't even see Amaterasu banned or picked in the last game. I think she's in this territory where teams recognize that she's still incredibly strong, but maybe they started to figure out how to deal with her, so it's a little more iffy. You know, maybe even the Cthulhu effect, right? When you see someone every single game, eventually you figure out how to beat them because you see them every single game. I think Wukong came in and was kind of this fresh take, with somebody who does a lot of damage, has a lot of control, but he just doesn't win as much as we see out of some of the other solo laners. As much as I think he holds his own over there, we do see him almost always in this matchup where he doesn't get to find as much success out of his games. And I'd like to see that turn around. I love Wukong. He's one of my favorite gods to play, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do it here against the King Arthur.
I was wondering if we're going to have a similar conversation around the Persephone. She was just now banned out for the 5th and final ban for Ghost Gaming, so they end up losing the game of who gets the Persephone chicken there, I suppose, as well as an Awilix ban over for eUnited. So Ghost Gaming on the clock still need themselves a jungler and a mid laner, and the Ra is the answer to the latter question there, Gore. We started to see this rise of the long-range snipe damage mid laners, and Ra has been one of the favorites.
And I know this is the first Raw of the phase for them. I think it's the first Raw of the year for Ghost Gaming here. Not to say that I think it's going to then poorly perform. I think they're going to do just fine with it as they move forward. It is something that has treated them, well, I guess hasn't treated them very well this year, but I think it's something that treats everyone who's been playing it pretty well overall. He's got it all. He's got the range, the damage, the healing. The only thing he's really missing is some guaranteed disengage in his movement, but he's got movement speed and his passive immunity to slows as well, which can help him out here in terms of escaping Sun Wukong, who has a lot of slows, and Sobek, who has a lot of slows. But I don't know, Thoth, he can poke you out, he can bring a lot of the same things Ra does, just without the healing portion. So there's a lot of contention there in the mid lane.
Gore, I think if this Cirquette was picked up by anyone else, I'm more concerned, but it's Sam for Soccer, so you almost have to give him the benefit of the doubt, I think.
Yeah.
Do you subscribe to that, or are you still a little concerned that the 2% pick rate Cirquette makes her way through?
I mean, look, I have to lean into whatever I say about Sam, and if it is that he'll pick up anything and everything happily, then I think this Cirquette is going to have to line up in there, right? I think it is a really solid pickup for him. Again, maybe a little bit of anti-heal that can help control specifically the Camazotz. There's a lot of anti-sustain or sustain in him, as well as Wukong. It's good lockdown there, but also it gets to the backline and can melt someone like Thoth or Rom in the blink of an eye. I think this is going to be good kind of isolated targeting from Sam, and it's going to be easy setup for the Raw, easy setup for someone like Cupid to come in and just clean up whatever's left. So Sam, I mean, more power to him. I hope it's a good game.
Yeah, we didn't even really get to talk about Scream, who's playing the Camazotz here, diving the mid laners way in the back of the fight. That's going to be the name of the game here in game number 2.
Thanks, Dawson and Gore. One more time as we move into game number 2 between eUnited and Ghost. And you heard them talking, Myth, about this Cirquette pick. I think that's got to be the one we want to spend our most time talking about here. I mean, we don't see a lot of her anymore. She used to be a must-pick with the ability to build tanky and still do a lot of damage. But how do you see Cirquette working here for Sam in this matchup?
Crazy to me that you want to talk about Sam before he's done anything, because again, we're not going to be able to shut up about him in about 6 minutes when he decides to make his mark known on the map. But I think Cirquette has some very interesting matchups into eUnited's draft. Scream, Sustain is going to be mitigated a lot by the Cobra's Kiss and the ultimate from Cirquette. Baskin, the Somersault Cloud, usually used right towards the tail end of your health bar. At last 10%, you go into the Somersault Cloud for the healing and the additional survivability. If Sam for Soccer catches him out late in the team fight, all of a sudden he's not healing and he could very likely die inside of his ultimate. I think that it's just this threat of anti-heal, the threat of true damage that Cirquette brings is going to make eUnited have to play a lot more respectfully, even though the majority of the teammates that they have, the majority of picks that they have a ton of sustain in their kits.
They do. It's not as if you're getting like a ton of value out of the anti-heal part of it. He's looking for that clear speed, the ability to dive, and Panda Cat dashing in, landing all the autos, getting the Heart Bomb stun. Mike is here, beads come out, but without an additional ability, Snoopy will end up barely surviving. But boy, was that one close. If Mike was 2 as well, then Snoopy's absolutely dead there.
Yeah, Snoopy might have just died to the one there from Cerberus had he landed all 3 shots. Fortunately for Snoopy, he does miss just a little bit. That was an aggressive step up from the ROM for not a lot of value. High risk, low reward play from Snoopy that goes unpunished, but Ghost already establishing pressure and now looking for a bit of a cheeky gank.
They are looking for a bit of a collapse. Our Ghost, with the pincer being provided there by Twig. Scream, though, more focused with coming towards the 3-man grouping near Oracles. Wants to not allow those to go down for free. Twig makes it back towards mid, taking a lot of poke from her away, and not much more ends up coming from it. But Gino and Scream now looking to see if they have a chance to get aggressive. Nothing there, though. They head back to their lanes. Though Scream is still sticking around in the enemy jungle. Looks like he'll eventually come on back down and settle for that Oracle farm instead. I mean, how do you feel about this thought, though, Milf? I mean, we've seen a lot more of him. Shinto has been playing it. I think this is a god we're going to have to get used to nowadays because he's really good.
Nothing better than hitting someone from further away than they can hit you from. The poke output from Thoth is ridiculous. This is one of the most frustrating things to play against. The safety that he has, the ability to confirm objectives is incredibly high as well, or even just to steal objectives away. It used to be Ra the best guy at doing that just because Searing Pain is so long range, but Thoth has him beat in damage and range. I think Ghosts are going to have to play very respectfully around these objectives until they know that Thoth's ultimate is down or Thoth himself is dead.
It's going to be tough, man. It's so much damage. And doesn't his ultimate always feel like you have a chance to win the fight as Panda Cat gets plucked in? Actually closer to the Snoopy that was awaiting for him, but good return damage. And Panda Cat can't get any closer. But it feels like one of those ultimates to me, and there's a couple of them where it feels like you always have a chance to win the fight if you can just get a good version of this ultimate, right? Final Judgment hitting 3 can turn around just about anything.
Yeah, 1 versus 3 situation. You just got 3 kills if you hit 3. There's a couple ults like that. Even, you know, it might just be Hurrywin's flavor because Through Space and Time is the exact same style. I just hit 3 dudes from further away they can hit me from, and I won the team fight off of it. I think Hurrywin has definitely figured out his type, if you would, of mid laners.
Seems to have found where he's comfortable, and Hurrywin is one worth talking about here for eUnited because I feel like so much of what needs to go well for eUnited relies on Hurrywin having a good game, and for him and Scream in particular to be on the same page in the mid in particular in this early to mid game when this laning phase is still happening. Hurrywin has that potential, man. We see it when he's on Yonix. It feels like he's the one calling the shots for the team. But when he's on something more like this Thoth, he's reliant on following up off Gino and Scream. And with Scream on him more of a Camazot's dive type this time, he's not going to be working with him quite the same as he would be if it was more of a setup-y jungler.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting that they decided to go for a jungler that is largely lacking in CC with such an impactful ultimate in mid, as Hurrywin getting a little bit caught out, forced to use the beads, and he finds the ultimate as well. Sam for Soccer forced back here. Luckily, Ra's got a bit of healing for him.
Sam just jumped in on Hurrywin, thought he had the chance to make it work. He does get the beads, as you pointed out, as well as that ultimate from Hurrywin in response. So he's certainly more vulnerable, but he took a lot of damage himself in response. So Twig, or rather, if Sam wants to come back out and capitalize on that later on, got to make sure he doesn't take a whole lot of damage on the front of it, though, as a snipe coming through, or a little bit of damage, stops the back there from Scream. Twig just saying hello.
Yeah, I think Scream's done a good job so far of matching the speed of rotation of the Surcat. He should absolutely be getting outpaced, at least in jungle farm. Surcat likely has some of the best jungle clear in the game, barring a Bakasura with Golden Blade, just because she does so much damage. The additional mobility of having 2 abilities that can largely move you across the map is so impactful, as well as Baskin getting surrounded now. FineOK finds the ult.
Already has him grabbed, pulled in by the Cobra's Kiss, and Sam for sucker. Able to find that ultimate there. Well done for Ghost to find first blood, but can they do any more? It looks like they're just going to have to settle for just that pick onto Baskin, and this has not been a great set for Baskin so far. Just as another talking point here, the first game bullied significantly by finalization despite being even, and now, not his fault. I think if you get 4-man rotated on, you're just going to die there, but another pick goes the way it goes.
Yeah, had he been a little bit more trigger happy with his ultimate and immediately got into it before the CC was able to come through, he may have survived that situation. Now Scream, found in a similar spot, does exactly that. Immediately goes in the ultimate. No risk. Bat out of hell going to be expended here. And now Ghost, again, looking to get aggressive in the enemy jungle, able to strip away these bat camps. And this is exactly what Gino's been doing for the last 5 minutes, just following around Mike, following around Sam, trying to mitigate the pressure that's coming through. And now Blink's forced out.
And that pulls Sam back into some trouble. Is able to make it out of there okay, though. So Cat has unrivaled safety as far as I'm concerned, man. Good luck keeping up with her. Gino steps in, gets stunned, and is still looking for a way to punish Sam. He's up here largely alone. Can't find the charge prey, but just looking to do what he can. And I think we kind of forget how much Surcat has this ability to just fight, even from minute 1, even without the ultimate. She has so many different tools, and we're seeing it here from Sam. They're getting scrappy around this Surcat.
And they should. Her damage output is incredibly high at this point. The CC to set up for your team is high as well, and I think Stanford Soccer's been doing a good job of maintaining that pressure. I'd be excited to see how he decides to go with this Surcat build. Last time we really saw her getting relevant in the league, it was this more utility-focused tankiness. Now Relic Dagger coming through. It looks like an engaged Surcat. She wants to be able to blink in often and find these ultimates to set up for his squad. We might even see her go for some bruiser items up next. I'm really excited to see how Sam for Soccer decides to pilot it.
Yeah, it gives him the extra movement speed too, some survivability. Everything is up more often with the CDR, and as you mentioned, obviously, the Blink will be able to be used more often as well. So this is Sam, as you said, looking to be the first one in, last one out, perhaps, with this Surcat build that he's going, man. He's looking to put pressure onto Heroin as often as possible, in particular. When Thoth feels like he can't be safe with his beads, it becomes a lot harder to play this god, and if Sam is instantly putting him in the CC chain right away before he can get that big dash, then I don't know how Erwin's supposed to stay safe.
He won't. It's going to be like Captain Twig last game. Maybe get beads this time around. That could help out, and it seems like he already has. Maybe an Aegis as well. No Blink required for the Thoth. I think that Hurrywin should be able to find good value in these team fights because his front line, his dive is so strong. He's going to have Baskin standing between them, but maybe not as Baskin gets caught out again.
Does use the ultimate right away this time, as you advised. So we'll be safe. Big rotation coming in as well. So Ghost's 2 errant members over here have to be careful. There's a lot of members of eUnited on their way. But Sam able to make it back to his tower. eUnited leave, knowing that if Baskin does get all end, they were there to provide some support had it been needed. But it does not come up. And now Baskin being dove again. Maybe they left him too quickly. Cobra's Kissed into the last breath. Knock up there as well. And finalization gets the kill. Ghost is willing to just sit on Baskin.
Hey, if it's going to work, it's going to work, and it absolutely works this time around. Now, Scream, left alone in the lane, does have the ultimate, so he should be survivable, and he will be forced into using it earlier on. But this tower could fall if Ghost decide to push for it. They don't, but it's so much damage coming through for Snoopy as well. Going to die on the left side.
Already used the beads a second ago, so he ends up falling. Panda Cat healing up with these hearts. And they still have more people rotating in. Twig is here as well, so Gino has to be careful. He makes it back to the tier 1 tower, gets out there safely. His final judgment is almost enough to kill Panda Cat. Heroin just not quite having all that damage he needs yet, but he made him think about it as Panda Cat has to back.
Yeah, had Hurrywin decided to go for the Doom Orb route, that may have been enough damage coming through here, but it could be the Rada Tahuti or the Chronos Pendant in that second slot for the Thoth, and he's already feeling the lead start to establish. Twig is 2 levels up on this Ra, the healing starting to get maxed out as well. Yeah, he's just been both mid laners have been largely AFK farming mid. They don't need to do anything, no pressure's going their way. Ghost is forcing eUnited to respond to the pressure on the solo side of the map. So mid laners have been left alone. Twig farming aggressively in his own jungle means that he's going to pull ahead naturally.
Yeah, it's so hard to play mid. All the farm comes to you, and you do nothing.
Tell me about it.
Aggro, he's not here. And listen, let's get the story straight. Jungle matters, and support matters, and mid's along for the ride. That's the whole thing there, and we're seeing the evidence as a lead can show up just from your team doing well around you. Now, things are now starting to be a trouble for Baskin. I would say he did not pick up the teleport. He had blink, so he couldn't even get back to the tier 1 tower in time, Myth, and he's starting to fall behind tremendously. We know what Fine OK can do with a King Arthur that's even, and I won't even start talking about ahead. A Scream gets caught out.
Good
Cobra's
God.
Kiss into the snipe, and Scream's done. This Cirquette is setting up everybody, but maybe not Panda Cat as Snoopy and Gino find a kill in left that was much needed.
Yeah, hold on though. Cirquette's already back on the scene, and he's looking for Snoopy here. Able to avoid the Sobek's ultimate with the first ability, and now the team's here. It's time to engage.
It is. Second charge, the Cobra's Kiss lands. They have Mike jump in first. Ambush comes out as the follow-up, and Sam cleans up the kill. So another one going the way of Ghost. He's 3-0-1. And Mike, 0-0-4. Both of them, the jungle support, go figure, have been doing everything for Ghost so far this game, man. They're the ones setting the pace.
They are, and they're doing a fantastic job of it. So far, I'm not willing to indict Gino. He's been playing incredibly well on this Sobek, trying to mitigate pressure. But Scream, on the other hand, is struggling to find early game aggression on Camazotz, a god that really needs to have a strong early game. He's only about a level down. He's been doing a very good job farming, but not farming enemies, not finding deep ganks, and not camping the solo laner like Sanford Soccer is trying to do right now, as Baskin's already half health under his tower, and the entirety of Ghost is lurking in the jungle.
And that is some of the risk you run with this Soul Eater start for Baskin over there. Not quite the same tankiness as potentially going for a Stone Guy or some other options. Your tankiness comes from your sustain as Ghost starts up this Pyromancer. Looks like eUnited will not be contesting, and I wonder if they'll go to gold right away, but Panda Cat's going to end up falling again.
Rip.
This is good for eUnited. They're going for the only member they can punish, and it's the Hunter. Boy, is it hard to be the ADC. They come for you all the time, man. It's just tough. And now Gold Fury being started up here by eUnited. They got 4 members on it. Stitchy Torn from Mike does control several members. He gets them off the objective, and it looks like he might hold on to his life, but there's the blink. Sam comes in to provide some backup as the snipes from Snoopy will claim the life of Mike, and Sam now low as well. Bad out of hell, plus the charge prey from Gino are enough to put Sam in trouble, but he gets the blink. Fine OK is able to get the kill onto Scream. They're pinging him, and Baskin will clean up the kill onto Sam.
Yeah, fantastic play from Baskin there to find that easy kill coming his way. One Jinku bang away from fixing up that slash line just a little bit. And eUnited do a very good job pushing a small lead. They find the pick on the Panda Cat, immediately back up into Gold Fury, force Polar Bear Mike to rotate in alone at risk of losing the objective. And then from there, Ghost Gaming's kind of fighting on the back foot as eUnited surges forward. The gold lead, though, has continued to balloon. Ghost Gaming are 3,000 gold up. That's the exact same spot they were in last game at the 25-minute mark. It's been kind of expediting their process a little bit as Ghost being involved really early on.
But that's what I'm talking about. Panda Cat's literally being punished because of how much pressure his team has in solo, Mip. It's like they have to go somewhere, so they come over to kill Panda Cat. He's just been minding his business all game. Ain't that just the way, dude? It's hard to be an ADC. As Cold Fury gets started up, it's down to half already, and right here to help try and contest is Gino, but what can he do as Ghost secure it quickly? And Herwin might even fall as Sam put a ton of pressure onto him. Dodges almost all of the hieroglyphic assaults, and now here Mike is to clean up the job, and he will indeed get that kill on the hurry.
Man, the trust that Sam for Soccer has there in Mike to just finish up that kill for him. He immediately walks away, says, all right, I'll go push your wave in mid. Mike, you got that one. Adapts him up on the way out, little tag in, tag out. And now in mid, Gino stepping too far forward.
Gets hit, unfortunately, by that last breath, and he is done. Pulled back in, another 2 quick kills. Served up by who? The jungle and support. The rest of us really are just living in the jungle support world, aren't we? Hoping that they do well so the rest of us can shine. Ghost now bringing the mid-tier 2 tower down low. having to retreat, and Panda Cat getting some revenge as he forces down the tier 1. And now Scream's been caught by King Arthur. That's fine, okay, with the ultimate taken up to the sky, and forcing the bat out of hell is the only response for eUnited to get out of there safely.
No minion wave in mid means that Ghosts are going to have to slow themselves down. Can't quite go for the tier 2 just yet. Snoopy, on the other hand, Bud, your team's already been forced out. Ghosts got nowhere to go. They're going to try and group up around him, but they can't quite find the dive. Mike a little bit off the mark with that stun. But the pressure's on. Ghost is looking to push as if they have Fire Giant at the 14-minute mark.
Well, they don't have anywhere else to go. They got Pyromancer and the Fury, right? And it's 14 minutes into the game, and so they're pressuring tier 2 towers. Just out of need. Now Final Judgment being charged, and maybe can find Sam here, but can't quite get it to connect. They still get the damage anyway. Snoopy provides the support with his snipe from range, and Mike now in danger of falling here as well. This is the double-sided sword, the two-sided sword that is Ghost's playstyle as they end up getting picked off, and eUnited want to try and run them down, but FineOK being a wall, keeping the rest of eUnited at bay, and Ghost should be able to make it out. In fact, Gino in danger of falling amongst all this, and Panda Cat gets the kill.
Yeah, Gino feeling a little bit too confident, goes for the pluck, and now Snoopy left alone in the backline. Half health, no mana, surrounded by 3, but he's surviving for so long!
Well, no one's really looking at him except for FineOK, and he's just putting out his damage while he can. FineOK should stick on Snoopy and get that kill. He will. Meanwhile, the rest of Ghosts are able to hide underneath the mid-tier 1. United looked as if they were the ones punishing, but now they're the ones with 2 members dead.
Good fight for Ghost Gaming, able to turn it around off a chase from eUnited. Unfortunately for Ghost, again, as you already highlighted, they've done everything on the map. Gold's dead, Pyro's dead, there's nowhere they can go except for where they got caught out originally, which is around these tier 2 towers. Luckily, this time around, Snoopy's dead already. Twig should be able to push a wave in, but Gino, lurking in the jungle, might make it a little bit hard to find this tower.
This is risky from Twig. He pushes the wave up, but Gino and Hurry are on the way, and they've got the range. But Hurry will deal with the minions threatening the tier 1, so it's just Gino going towards Twig. Twig makes out of there safely, and the tier 1 tower almost falls for it. Great work there from Twig, as it turns out, as Sam continues to harass Baskin, even when FineOK is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, solo lane has gotta be just a misnomer at this point. I mean, it's just wrong when Ghost Gaming's loaded into the game. That's the duo lane, or secondary duo lane, how often Sam for Soccer's been over there. But speaking of Sam, let's take a peek down at his build. Interesting choices. It is going to be a more bruiser-centric build, going for these more hybrid-based items. The survivability, the ability to engage these team fights, going to come in huge handy as well. The Shifter Shield offering protections based on how much health you have, that passive. It's not something you see too often nowadays, but survivability is the name of the game. So Circuit has it in spades, be it through mobility and now defense as well. Sam's going to be very hard to shut down in the back line.
Another neutral objective. The second it spawns into the map, Ghosts are there to strip it away. FineOK is in some trouble, has been plucked back towards the rest of eUnited, and is low. Final Judgment connects, and FineOK will eventually end up falling. So Ghosts pay a price for that Pyromancer, and eUnited continuing to surge forward, looking for Mike now. This is the best response eUnited have, is to just group and try and respond to where Ghosts are, because Ghosts are done with the laning phase already. They're grouping up and forcing objectives, and eUnited, are they seriously considering starting up this fire? I know they got the kill into Fine, but they still have a lot to deal with. This Polar Bear Mike is nearby, but it's a bait. eUnited drop the objective, punish Mike when he shows up, and collect the kill. This is eUnited's answer to Ghost's early game aggression.
It's a continuous aggression of their own. They force Mike to rotate in, and now Sam for Soccer left alone in the back line. No blink available to him, but again, survivable. So he could be able to disrupt this just a little bit. His only job is to create time. Circuit, not very good at stealing objectives, but can definitely stop them from going for it themselves, as Baskin tries to chase him out with that bird form. And Sam for Soccer, just standing around inside the enemy jungle is enough to deter them from looking for the Fire Giant themselves. PBM up in 7 seconds. Swig has already respawned. We're getting a reset back to neutral here, but despite a small win for eUnited, this lead is still crippling in favor of Ghost, nearly 6,000 gold.
Yeah, and look at these builds holistically from Ghost Gaming, because Mike has the Binding and Magus as his last 2 items that he's picked up, so he's adding all this extra shred and damage to his squad in response to the Gold Fury being started, rather the Oni Fury, and nearby is Snoopy to try and help them out, to at least let the squad know, as he takes a ton of damage from Mike up front, goes secure it with that snipe. So this means that Twig can afford to build a little bit more safely with the Lotus Crown and the E-Staff in response, as Ghastly Breath adds on to that shred. Thank you, Doug, for pointing that out, and that can enable for even Sam to go for a more protective build. As a holistic team, they're setting up these builds. As finalization gets caught out, eUnited again will settle for the scraps after Ghosts go for the objective, but will they even get those scraps? Mike jumps in to help, Snoopy goes up to the sky right away, and now here Twig is to join in. Panda Cat's nearby, dropping in the Fields of Love, and Snoopy falls for a double. Gino falls as well, as Hurriwind and Scream get the kill into Sam elsewhere.
What a split fight from United, where Ghost Gaming come out ahead. Absolutely. Such a huge commitment on the final K off of the pluck from Sobek. Sona Guy has healed him through the majority of the damage coming through there. But I love this identity that you established for Ghost Gaming. Everyone's a frontliner now, so let's all go just a little bit of damage. Let's all get a little bit of survivability. We'll all W key together. A team that dives together wins together, in my mind, and Ghost Gaming absolutely pushing that to its limits. 7,000 gold, a tier 2 tower, another one on the duo side of the map as well. Baskin can only look on as in horror as the gold lead balloons again in favor of Ghost.
And listen, I know occasionally eUnited are finding some return picks, but this Ghost strategy is not without some minor flaws. Occasionally you are overcommitted, occasionally you have no resources left to help out your stragglers, but it's nothing, it's a penance, it's nothing compared to what Ghosts are getting on the front end of it, when they're constantly keeping the neutral objectives down, when they're threatening your towers early on in the game, so that 20 minutes in they can threaten them without ever getting a Fire Giant. This is a holistic view from Ghost as a team that's putting eUnited in a spot where they don't have a response.
Yeah, every small win from eUnited feels like a singular rain droplet in the middle of the Sahara Desert. It's just not enough to sustain these guys through the constant onslaught of heat that is Ghost Gaming. And now they're going to have to deal with some further issues. The healing coming through from Ghost is largely unmitigated once they decide to do it outside of combat. Yeah, they've got sustain, they've got tankiness, they've got damage on literally everyone. We've seen that Polar Bear Mike is able to take out half of Snoopy's health bar, and Gino, bud, you're not safe, you can't walk there.
Gino's already fallen. Fields of Love made it hard for anyone else to contest. Mike takes a lot of damage on the front line, and Baskin claims the life, but they've already gotten rid of Gino, and Scream is low on his retreat. Narrowly, he does escape, but Ghost, everyone else can sustain as they traded support for support. I think that likely does favor eUnited, but now Ghost will start back up this FG, and how can eUnited step in to contest with very few ultimates at their disposal? Sam starting to step forward, daring eUnited to come any further, and all the while, finalization holds on to the objective, keeps it low, but now they're dropping it, now they're moving in. Hurriwind and Snoopy have to leave at low HP, and Ghost can step even further forward. Hurriwind has to use his Aegis, and Ghost perhaps can isolate the next member at the front of this fight, which will be Baskin, but eUnited do enough to keep themselves alive and deny the fire to Ghost. Not a bad defense.
Yeah, finalization holds on to the Fire Giant aggro just a little bit too long there, just creating the threat that United have to respond to. If we don't move up, we lose the objective, but unfortunately for Fine, he loses too much of his health bar, so the dive cannot continue. He does have teleport, so he's able to rejoin his team around Fire Giant immediately as PBM respawns. But eUnited have reset it as a whole. They've all gone back to base, spent their gold, healed, got their mana back. Ghost Gaming, on the other hand, has not backed as a team just yet. So eUnited have a slight advantage. They can come in with these wards that they've already picked up and try and reestablish vision advantage around the Fire Giant. I'm not sure how much that's going to do for them when they're 10,000 gold down 23 minutes into the game. It's just going to make Ghost have to use their ward again as they're able to walk in for free.
It's scary what this Ghost team has become now, isn't it? I mean, eUnited are still fighting with them every step of the way, even down 10,000 gold, as Sam goes for the long-term loop around the back. So they pluck in Mike, who leaps away. Is now isolated around 4. I don't know if this is the way he wanted to leap. He is certainly in trouble. But eUnited can't commit. Panda Cat gets the kill on the Gino elsewhere, and Hurriwind low as well. Mike comes in to complete the kill. Snoopy low to the left, and Twig completes that one, and Baskin on the Somersault Cloud knows there's nowhere safe for him to land. He falls down into death. once he lands, and that's exactly what awaits him as the leap from the ambush comes in, Baskin on the slow march towards death, and Ghost take the 4 for 0. It just seems like they're a step ahead every step of the way.
Yeah, for just a split second, I allowed myself to believe the illusion that eUnited was winning that fight once Mike was forced out of position. And then all of eUnited, they don't turn around to fight him as 5. They all take separate engagements, 2v2s. Scream looks for poke on a PBM, while Hurrywin's looking to kill the backline. Panda Cat is allowed to free cast, and Ghost find 4 for 0 and a Fire Giant as well. 10,000 gold in the lead over that. I'm not willing to do math on a cast. I like to equate Fire Giant to 10,000 gold in of itself. And now there's nothing standing between Ghost and the Firebirds on the side of eUnited. Those Phoenixes are going to go down with relative ease unless eUnited can make use of their draft to find the defense. And defense is strong for them. Hurrywin has already shown that his poke is huge. It's sizable. Not even FinoK is able to ignore it, as he does so much damage on this Thoth, and he should have a very easy time of keeping minions outside that Phoenix range as well. It's not an enhanced Fire Giant on the side of Ghost, so backdoor protections are still a very serious thing that they're going to have to contend with. But I'm worried, man. Snoopy in particular has not been able to find a lot of damage in these engagements. The majority of his damage has been coming from his ultimate. He hasn't found the opportunity to get his auto attacks through, and once the game simplifies around these sieges, it's going to only become harder. The dive is going to simplify. It makes it easier. Whoa, we can see you, Snoopy. You're not hiding in the fog of war. You're standing next to a giant Phoenix. You got to play incredibly safe once FinoK is inside.
Everyone on Ghost now getting ready to siege this left side Phoenix. Looks like they've got Sam off, keeping the wave pressure up in mid, and Mike lurking nearby. So it's a 3-2-ish split with Mike as this sort of agent in the middle that can go to whichever lane needs him, and then keep up this wave pressure coming to both the lanes at once, and United have to respond. They've got Hurwin on Thoth, who's great on these defenses with his long-range damage, but once Ghosts try to commit, then how much help is it? Fields of Love lands, and Gino in trouble, narrowly escapes. Good use of the early lurking in the waters. He makes it out, but the left side Phoenix already low as well. A dive comes through for Scream, using the Bat out of Hell to try and commit, as Mike goes into the Phoenix alone, is able to dash back out. Snoopy will use the snipes to make sure they claim his life, and now Sam gets plucked back in. eUnited have the decent response, and they keep the left side Phoenix up. That's huge.
Yeah, Mike just a little bit off the ball there, going in for the re-engage into the Phoenix alone. It felt like Ghost was going to try and back up there, use the Cupid healing and the Raw healing to re-sustain Fine and Sam. But the second that Mike goes in, you see that Ghost is a team that is willing to follow the call, even if it isn't necessarily a good one. All 5 members surge forward to try and peel out Mike. Unfortunately for Mike, Snoopy, having a semi-global ultimate, is immediately able to put him down from the air, and from there, Ghost Gaming's team fight kind of falls apart. But 3 members remain alive. 3 members keep the Fire Giant, and eUnited, despite having the numbers advantage, aren't really going to be able to push it just about anywhere on the map. They may be able to pick up this tier 1 tower in mid, but I don't imagine they get anything else.
It's tough for them. Ghost could not get that kill into Gino quickly enough. He did a great job surviving. Then Mike was too big on his own. And now United decide where they want to go, but as you said, they get the mid-tier 1, and now they're running. They gotta leave. They're still down 13,000 gold at this point in the game, so they can't afford to fight anymore. And look at this TP from Fine. Is he gonna try and go force down this Phoenix and left on his own? He cannot do it. So he gets there ahead of everyone else, and now they can keep up their solo pressure right away. Even if he can't backdoor it, it still gives them a ton of value. All the Ghosts are right back here to try and re-siege left.
Yeah, I think FinoK was looking to see if anyone from eUnited was going to retreat through that side of the jungle. Unfortunately for him, no one does, but the siege is coming through quick. Frenzy pops.
Yeah, they're already moving in. Twig takes a lot of damage in the middle, but they get Baskin right away. So it does mean that Twig ends up low, and they're able to get the return kill, but Sam commits, and the left side Phoenix goes down. Snipes from Snoopy not enough to kill Panda Cat, so now they can use this comp to re-sustain. The strength of this comp starting to show, as they can all-in commit heavily, then back up, sustain up for the next fight.
And that's exactly what we're going to do as Fire Giant wears off. It's going to be a minute left on that respawn. United, normally we see teams try and chase out there when there's a slight advantage, especially as teams when they're low health like Ghost Gaming are here. But a little bit smart, worried about the sustain coming through from the Cupid, realize that maybe they're not as unhealthy as they may have assumed, so eUnited back up, try and push out the waves just a little bit, and then regroup around this right side of the map. The left side, Phoenix does go down, the hardest one to defend, when you're also trying to simultaneously defend the Fire Giant, but it seems like eUnited are willing to fight for it. They're grouping up first, and if Ghost's back here, we might be looking at a bit of a sneaky Fire Giant if they're not back in time.
Still 15 seconds away from it being back, so Ghost has some time to work with. They just got Pyro, so they'll be getting back even faster, and eUnited not going to be able to stick around long enough to capitalize on that window. They have to fall back, so Ghost still in control. Now, they're not exactly winning these fights completely cleanly. They're all coming at some cost.
They are not.
eUnited punish them. But that's what eUnited are going to do, right? They're going to find ways to punish them, and Ghosts are still winning the fights, even if they're not 100% clean.
Yeah, they're able to find objectives. They're able to find neutral objectives if they're able to win the fight as well. But now, here's the true test. They have to contend with Fire Minion Waves on the left, so they're going to have to start off this engagement 4 versus 5. Baskin, starting his rotation over, he wasn't able to push out the wave very far, but they know that they need him for the engagement. It seems like Ghost is looking for the fight before the fire.
Step in onto Gino first, but a collapse from eUnited is on. They want to lock down Polar Bear Mike in left. He's low, but manages to survive. So that means now Sam can get to the back line freely, and he puts the damage on the Hurry first with some backup from Fine, who gets the kill credit. Now he has to be careful because Scream certainly has kill potential, but Fine weaves his way through, does end up falling to Gino eventually, but Ghosts are looking for the recollapse. Gino in some trouble, takes a ton of damage, and Baskin is MIA as Gino narrowly avoids falling. Now Baskin can look for the pincer, is able to find the collapse with that cudgel, and that puts down Panda Cat. So eUnited win the fight. It's a 2-for-1.
Clean engagement, but the fight's not over just yet. Sanford Soccer caught behind, PBM caught in front. The healing from Ra isn't going to be enough to sustain through this, but a stun on a Snoopy might get you out of the situation. Scream continues chasing.
And you said this is the real test. The dot lands onto Mike, and it's enough for Scream to get the kill. It's 3-for-1, and I think that's what you meant. It's this. If they can win this fight, then eUnited are right back in it, and they won the fight handily. Ghost couldn't seem to figure out how they wanted to go about that fight, and the late flank in from Baskin proved strong. Now the Tiger Stun could potentially get this kill onto Twig as well, as he's locked down underneath the mid-Phoenix. Scream gets the kill onto Sam, and suddenly Twig, the only one still standing. He does survive. Final K makes it back up, but eUnited won the fight.
But what are they going to do with this win? They took so long chasing out that Final K's already respawned. Captain Twig can sustain in the jungle. They might be able to back up the Fire Giant, but Hurrywin has to contend with those minions on the left side of the map. They can't concentrate their pressure and strip away the objective. It seems to me that eUnited do win the fight handedly, but all it wins them, the only prize that they get, is another shot at defending Fire Giant. The majority of Ghost Gaming have already respawned, and they still have an 11,000 gold lead.
And that's the price they're going to pay for their deficit, right? They're several wins away from getting their crack at offense. And so that's not as if it's a failing there in eUnited necessarily, but they're starting to show that they can compete with Ghost here in the late game, that Ghost cannot execute these dives cleanly enough that eUnited can't find their punish. And the real problem is Rom. No one can afford to get away low health because Snoopy can go up to the sky and punish them and confirm the kill.
And now Final K steps forward again, looking to get collapsed on by the entirety of eUnited, but he is tanky, and it seems like Ghost has brought numbers as Panda Cat loses half.
Yeah, Final Judgment hit 2 there. Good work from Hurwin to do the damage, but Snoopy ends up falling right away. But Panda Cat falls in trade, and now Final K is low. But Hurwin in the pack needs help, and no one's there to help. They're looking for Final K instead, which means that Scream does eventually get the kill, but it's 2-for-2. But eUnited's lost all their damage, and Twig and Sam are still up to help for Ghost. Now they're going to look for the chase down on the Baskin. He turns around knowing he must fight, but cannot do enough damage. Ghost win this one 3-for-2, and look to continue to push with their core 3v3.
It's going to be hard to siege a Phoenix here. There's a lot of damage still left on the table from eUnited if they're able to regroup. The left side Phoenix has respawned, and Scream has just dealt with the last Fire Minion Wave. It's up to Gino to buy time for this Camazotz to rotate over. The damage output onto this bird is going to be low because Sanford Soccer goes for a Bruiser build.
They're basically only getting damage from Scream here at this point. It's just not enough. So eUnited don't overreact to it. They play it safe. and dare Ghost to show they have enough damage to threaten the Phoenix with just these 3 members. They don't. Ghost fall back, and eUnited do enough to defend. And the more this game goes on, the further eUnited get into their builds, the closer they approach to that full 6 slot, then the weaker Ghosts are going to look. eUnited are absolutely still in this one.
Yeah, the carries of eUnited are just about done with their builds. It's only the selling of the boots that's going to separate these two teams. Gino just picks up his 6th item, and look at that. It's going to be a Pythagorean's piece coming through. A little bit of aura power for his team, some lifesteal to help out with survivability. When you're standing near Hurrywind in the back line, it's going to be hugely helpful to make sure that that poke just does a little bit more and helps out with the sustain as well. Maybe trying to match a little bit of what Ghost Gaming is bringing. That's an interesting choice on the Sobek, so I'll be excited to see how that pans out for them. I would have expected to see something along the lines of maybe a Void Stone if he wanted to go a little bit more damage for his team, but this is going to be helpful for not just only the mages, but as well as the physical.
It feels that both teams are having trouble keeping their hunters alive in these fights, and both teams are doing a good job of punishing the support when they look to engage at the beginning of the fight. So Mike and Gino end up in a lot of trouble, as do Panda Cat and Snoopy. But someone has got to turn around to help her win in this next fight, Myth. I feel like Sam or Fine or whoever it is getting too much time to put damage into him.
Yeah, it seems like eUnited says, all right, Final Judgment's down, you're worthless to me, we're going to go focus on Snoopy, as Final K, again, being the first one plucked in, loses about half of his health, but it's not working out. He's got Stone of Gaia for sustain, he's got Ra heals, Cupid heals. If you want to engage the fight, and it seems like eUnited absolutely want to, they have to look for a better pick there. If they keep pulling in Final K, they're only going to lose out on the trade. Now, Gino has to stick around at around 80%.
Yeah, I mean, that Son of Gaia is going to proc on basically everything that Gino does to initiate on Final K, so you get to the big sustain healing on the back of it. And we mentioned the anti-heal that was there for eUnited. They do still have the Divine, the Brawlers all working for them, so they can deal with it, but it's not a ton. It's not going to completely mitigate it, as it looks like these teams are waiting to fully reset on this next fight. All the relics will be available for Ghost and are fully upgraded for them. Meanwhile, Gino will not have his Thorns to punish when Ghost look to commit on his engagement. But Final K,
the poke war begins.
Yeah, Final K wants to start this fight off right here and now. He goes in right away. Sam does take quite a bit of damage, but retreats. The one that takes the most damage is actually Gino, and he's isolated on the front of the fight. No Thorns, no way to return the damage, and Ghost collapse on him instantly.
Yeah, Gino just constantly looking to get aggressive there. He's looking to pluck whoever steps too far forward, and he just loses his life forward. If he finds someone who beezes it out, he's not tanky enough to survive these engagements. And now it's on eUnited to try their best to stop the Fire Giant. There's not going to be an easy way for them to steal it away because Final Judgment is down. Baskin forced to use the ultimate on the side. In my mind, that eliminates all chances of taking a fight here. You can't step forward. Baskin, being the last frontliner for eUnited, not having that added layer of safety, means there's nothing they can do.
Ghost secure the Fire Giant, but boy was it close. Scream almost had a chance sealed away with his ultimate, and now the commitment from Ghost is on. Final K is in the backline, putting damage on the Snoopy. He doesn't need help, and Snoopy can't escape. Even Aegis was up but couldn't use it, and Final K collects the kill. 2 members down, but Gino will be up in 10. FG on everyone from Ghost, and they're still a ways from having a minion here because they all met in the back. Those waves are stuck, but they don't need them. Ghost come in with the EFG helping them, and they burn through the right side Phoenix. Gino is up now, so 4 members are here to defend as Ghost look to assault the base.
They're going for the end here. There's still 4 members strong on the side of eUnited, and maybe work through the mid-Phoenix first, as Final K again plucked out.
Final K survives. Stygian Torment comes in to provide some support, and Baskin is low. They just need 1 bit of damage to connect with him, but he manages to sneak by, get back to the fountain, and heal up. So Ghost not able to end this one. In fact, Final K ends up falling. Sam has to disengage, and Ghost didn't all-in commit to the mid-Phoenix or to trying to end. They went for the fight instead, and eUnited are able to keep most of their base intact as Ghosts look for the retreat.
And eUnited on the chase. Baskin taking a roundabout path, trying to flank them on that top side. Instead, now Ghost retreating towards the right. Baskin realizes it, knows that there's no way he cuts them off, so instead moving to the jungle, trying to strip away the red buff. Ghost Gaming, it just felt like they weren't all on the same page there. A couple go for the kill. Final K dives deep off of that pluck and almost finishes off Baskin. He gets out of there by the thinnest of margins. From there, Final K is tanking the Titan. 3 members of Ghost. Hurrywind's allowed to free cast in the backline, and it just results in a poor kill, a poor pick for Ghost Gaming, and they don't get anything else. Just 1 right side Phoenix. when they had a pretty sizable advantage. It was a 5 versus 4. They could have worked their way into mid or even left, used the sustain in their draft to elongate the fight, not only the sustain in their draft, but also through itemization, Stone a Gaia on FineOK, or the passive sustain that you get through Fire Giant. Ghost Gaming are very ahead if they decide to drag these fights out as long as possible, but instead some of them, that is, commit to the dive, and it just doesn't work out.
It's been a good job from eUnited to respond to this all-in commitment from Ghost. It looks like we do have a pause. We'll be getting you all back into the action momentarily. But Myth, this is one that it looked as though Ghost had a chance to clean up, 13, 15 minutes ago, but eUnited's defense has been wrong. They are not letting Ghost all-in commit and close these games out, and eUnited now giving themselves a fighting chance here in the late game.
Yeah, for eUnited, I think it's the ray of shining hope is Hurrywin. He's able to find huge final judgments to finish off kills. His poke has been phenomenal. He's positioning incredibly well. Gino's plucks have been a huge determining factor in these fights as well. Most of the time finding FineOK, sometimes getting value out of it, sometimes not, but always engaging the fights where eUnited are able to at least sink a little bit of damage, force Ghost Gaming to back up, use the sustain in their draft, and then look for another engagement later on. But so far, it just feels like Ghost Gaming have been largely in control. There's not a single moment in this game where I've doubted the outcome for even a second, but eUnited are rapidly approaching the point where one team fight could completely even out the map. If they are able to get towards those Phoenixes, they take down even one. Ghost Gaming's defense is a lot weaker than their offense.
It is, but it hasn't even come up, right? I mean, eUnited have not had a chance to get on offense just yet, so Ghost have been able to keep right on pushing. Now look at these player damage charts, Myths, as we get back into the game. It is Hurrywin, Snoopy, basically all of Ghost, and then we get to Baskin kind of coming in there a little bit to help out. They are very much reliant, almost entirely, on Hurrywin and Snoopy doing enough damage to win the fight, and if they don't, then eUnited have to turn on their heels and run, because Ghost have too much coming from all of their members.
Yeah, it just seems like there hasn't been enough follow-up damage from eUnited's front line, doesn't it? Baskin has been struggling to survive back there, and can you blame him when you're playing against a Surcat who can get rid of your healing and do true damage, or Panda Cat with this insane tank shredder build? I mean, you can blame him probably a little bit since he decides to go for a bit more damage inside that build through Soul Eater, Gladiator Shield, and Heartseeker. But I think that if Baskin's able to close gap or at least force some relics out, he's gotten all the value that he needs as mid-Phoenix starts its siege.
Well, he gets into the back line, forces an Aegis out from Panda Cat. Big Final Judgment does a lot of damage too. It's Hurrywin and Snoopy team up to take care of Polar Bear Mike on the engage. FineOK gets plucked in. Mantle saves his life for a moment, but Baskin has the punish on the back of it. Ghost cannot find a way to safely break this base to be eUnited. There's too much damage from too long a range, and eUnited now the one to the driver's seat. But look at this from Sam. He's kind of looped around underneath, pulled some members of eUnited on the chase instead of getting aggressive on offense. It looks like they eventually realize they have to give up on the chase. Scream comes to defend. Now eUnited get to try their hand at sieging.
Yeah, not only is that a Surcat, one of the wiliest gods in the game, but also that's Tank Surcat, so I think they're right to go ahead and give up on that chase. If Sam for Soccer wants to live there, he absolutely will. Now, eUnited, for the first time this game, as you highlighted, are able to look for a bit of aggression around this Tier 2 tower, but their team's split up right now. They can't just move their way in. Ghosts still have a couple members around able to defend. They don't have to put up a hard defense. Tier 2 towers don't matter this late into the game, but if they're able to just slow them down, buy time for these respawns, and then regroup, try and set up a defensive positioning around this Fire Giant, that's all Ghosts need to look to do. Only 3 members from eUnited here. Sam's back.
Wow, Twig snipe lands on the Snoopy, so Sam comes in to complete the work and find the kill, and it works. They don't even get the Tier 2 tower. That's back-breaking, it feels like to me, as Ghost with the 3v, well, really 3, right? Because all of eUnited were not there to defend. Yep. They end up finding a pick.
It's just, that's mentally crushing if you're on eUnited. You've been defending for the last 40 minutes. You finally get your first opportunity. You know it's not even a big deal. It's just a Tier 2 tower 40 minutes into the game, and you aren't quite able to finish it up. No birds are exposed to eUnited. Their win condition is still far away.
It is. Baskin appeared to be in trouble for a minute, but no one with CC was there to lock him down. So he was able to walk out even though he took quite a bit of damage. So Ghost get another crack at offense if they want it. Fire Giant not far from spawning. In fact, it should be crashing into Earth. Hey, there you go. So that means Ghost can head back and grab that and then look for another siege with an EFG. But this time eUnited have all their Phoenixes up. Maybe they can come out to contest.
They absolutely should. And the right side, Phoenix is the only one that still has fireman waves rotating in, but they have to get there quickly. It's burning fast, 50% on the fire, and TBM is an impenetrable wall standing between them and the objective.
He is keeping everyone at bay. Gino, the only one that can get there in time, but still being contested. Ghost secure the objective. Mike doing a ton of work to keep everyone at bay, but now Sam taking quite a bit of damage from Herwin from range, or rather, the Fields of Love lands, and that's enough to get the kill into Gino, but in comes Baskin with the ultimate Scream, right behind him with the Bat out of Hell, and Panda Cat falls to the Jingu Bang, but Scream gets stunned. Mike comes in with the Stomp, and that makes it 2-for-1 plus FG in favor of Ghost. The rest of eUnited retreating. Snoopy's a machine gun at this point, but he gets stunned from range. Mike comes in to complete the CC chain, and
Huge
Snoopy
poke.
falls right away. He had no relics to stay alive, and Ghost, they're low. They need to reset and heal up. But look at eUnited stepping forward. They know with Herwin's range, they can get some punishing kills in. They take care of Mike right off the bat, but Herwin falls to find OK's damage. Sam gets the kill in the basket, and with the DSI, that should be it. So without Panda Cat, this is a tough siege. How do you feel here, Myth?
30 seconds left on Gino, 3 members alive, one of them's a Ra to help sustain once they get into the Titan. I think they can absolutely go for the end here as long as they're able to clear out this Phoenix before we have 15 seconds left on Gino, and it seems like that's going to be incredibly easy as they have the wave. Hurrywin's damage output in that last engagement, it was wild. He's hitting everyone 4 times every single time. Nuts. You can't ask for any more from your mid laner there. It's just not enough, unfortunately. 43 minutes into the game, it's going to be Ghost Gaming.
Listen, guys, 46,000 damage from this Thoth is nuts, especially considering that for most of the game, Herwin was getting something close to 0 peel from the boys. They were just letting my man live and see how it goes. I mean, he's nuts. You guys can no longer say, in my mind, that Herwin's the problem here because he keeps pulling out the Honest or the Thoth or whatever it is and putting up the numbers.
Yeah, Snoop and the troop need to put some respect on Hurrywin and peel this man out of these situations. If he gets any help in the initial Fire Giant dances, we could have been looking at a completely different game. They dragged Ghost Gaming, the team that you hailed, Finch, John Finch, you hailed
And I'm right.
as the best in the league, and they dragged them to 43 minutes? That's wild. This is a bottom-of-the-pack team right now. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to find a singular map win this time around, but we saw what the top end is looking like. Hurrywin is popping off.
So, Myth, when you put up the W, does it say took 40 minutes? Does it say it was kind of slow? Or does it say W? You can go ahead and answer. Go ahead.
Yeah, it says dub. It's a dub.
Yeah,
all right,
it's a dub,
put another win in the win column for them. All right, they can have it. All right, whatever, man. SSG.
Yeah, United made it close. I'm right there with you, Myth. I'll get us out of here, though. Quick break, then we'll be right back to the desk.
eUnited take Ghost to 40+ minutes here in game number 2, but Ghost able to kind of put away with those 3-game sets, get themselves their 6th win in a row here in Phase 2 of the SPL. Gore Miser with me, not only to break down Game 2, but to break down the set. Gore, it takes a little bit longer, but Ghost get the win in Game 2 nonetheless.
Yeah, I think you see a lot of good that comes out of eUnited all across the board. I think Herwin looks very solid, as they had mentioned there at the very end of the cast. But you have to look at where things were going well on the side of Ghost Gaming. FidoK, I think, had a stellar game. Granted, there were some moments where he got erased from the game, depending on where Herwin or Snoopy were able to put their damage. But I think he was a big driving factor for Ghost Gaming just throughout most of it. Twig as well, you got to see the healing come into play, I think, several times, especially there at the end. But the damage this Raw was able to output was very solid. Between him, Panda Cat, even Sam, Sam, I think me and you were kind of commenting on it a little bit while we were watching, where it's just like, man, him and Scream had virtually no damage up to, in comparison to a lot of the others, even the supports. And then all of a sudden, you see Sam, it's like, well, he's building a bruiser. Like, he wants to go in, lock someone down, get them low, and then let somebody else pick up the kill. A lot of the time, it ended up being someone like Twig or FineOK being able to do so. But he still went 8-5 and 15 for himself. Had a lot, I think, going on. Plus the fact that PBM was bringing a ton of damage, it just felt like, I think, how did Finch word it? They all were just together holding W at eUnited for a significant portion of the game.
Well, FineOK dies 5 times in this one. In the previous 5 games that he's played, FineOK has died 6 times. So if that might give you an idea of the type of W key holding that FineOK is doing here in this game. 28,000 damage, good for sort of middle of the pack there. Hurrywind, big damage numbers. We've already sort of touched on that, but Gore, I think that's sort of the product of these types of compositions. I said that the backline peel is going to be important. Whoever could maybe have that most uptime, find that most consistent damage. I mean, you hate to harsh on eUnited too much, but think of the damage numbers had Hurrywind gotten a little bit of peel there. So something maybe to consider when you look at the drafts and how these teams adjust some strategy moving forward. Let's see how the standings have updated after this one. Unfortunate there for eUnited. They haven't been able to keep that win streak going, but Ghost Gaming, they leapfrog SSG for sole possession of first place.
81%. Like, it's that 1%. That
1%
set win right now is very big. And honestly, hey, it's thanks to the Knights. Those two still have to play each other later on in the phase. I think that might be in one of the last 2 weeks of play. I'd have to double check just to make sure. But the fact that Ghost Gaming has consistently won that match means it's a little shaky. And so we'll have to see how they do tomorrow, specifically if you're looking at this battle for first against Sanguine, because Sanguine's been on a hot streak. It might be a little easier for Ghost to maintain that top position than it was for SSG, although I say that as a team that was 12-2 just a week ago, so it's not really like they've been struggling too much. But Ghost, I think, well-deserved. This is a team that we've seen consistently all year look incredibly good, and now it feels like they've just doubled back down into this great level of play.
Yeah, again, 6-win streak now for Ghost Gaming, so that's got to feel good. Captain Twig, he put together a nice set here today, one of the 5 members of the W Key gang there in game number 2. Finch standing by with Twig for a post-game interview.
That's right, Dulce, thanks. I do indeed have Captain Twig here with me. And Twig, first thing, man, that game 2 will end up being kind of a long one, even though you all were ahead for a long time in that one. What kind of happened to hang you guys up, or what was going on in that second game?
Well, I think they did well to pick us a lot of times. They got a lot of picks on, I think, Alec and Mike specifically, but we all kind of had weird deaths through the mid-late game, which I think stalled the game out quite long.
I think so, too. They just started grouping up and finding whoever they could kind of halfway through that one once you guys got really far ahead. What about in Game 1? I was saying to Miffla during the cast that it felt like you guys have an almost improvisational nature, an opportunistic nature. You'll just take what the other team gives you sometimes when you recognize that there's weakness. Is that key to you guys' style right now, or is a lot of it going the way you draw it up?
Absolutely. I mean, we're always going to play where individual team members believe they have a lead or a lane to play off. So I think we just take them as they come. We don't necessarily know beforehand, but in the game it gets obvious when lanes are winning or whether we should play there. So yeah, that's just the way to win, I guess.
I think so too. Figure out where the weaknesses are and exploit them right away. It's exactly what you guys have been doing. Well, Myth and I were going back and forth between you and Space Station during this call about who we think's the strongest team right now, and every time you've met them here in this phase, you've won. So to me, that makes me think you guys are just the flat-out best team. Is that how you feel about it as well, Twig?
Absolutely. I think if we all have on our A day, we're the best team, and as long as I think everyone has bad games, but I think as long as we all play well, then we are the best.
I think so too, Twig. Right now, you guys look at the gold standard and everyone else trying to catch up. Looking forward to your very next match you guys are going to be having a little bit later on here in this weekend. Thanks for talking to me. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with plenty more SPL.
Thank you.